From the iHeartRadio studios in New York City, come two diehard fans of the greatest rock and roll band hailing from Hollywood, California. Dissecting all things Guns N' Roses and anything else in their distorted minds, it's Brando and Scotto.
'Cause you know what the fuck you are!
And this is Appetite for Distortion.
Time to die!
And welcome to the podcast, Appetite for Distortion, episode 32. My name is Brando Scotto, Ian today. He is seeing Head PE and a bunch of other bands I really don't care about, no offense. So instead, we have one of our bad apples. So we go from a juggalo, an Ian, to a journalist in Art Divana. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, what's up? So wait, Ian's a juggalo?
He denies it. He's never worn the makeup, but he's obsessed with ICP. He's talked about them a lot on the podcast. So I think he saw Twisted the other day. Il Nino Dope and Head PE today, so that's why he can't record.
I went to Gathering of the Juggalos last year, right as, like, literally in the midst of Donald Trump being elected as president in fucking, where was I? Somewhere in the middle of Ohio on some farm. It was, like, easily one of the greatest experiences of my life. I'm not a juggalo. I know nothing about ICP. I don't listen to their music. Don't care about their inner circle or their universe at all. But man, it was fucking insane. It was like pro wrestling, blood, people sucking fucking oxygen out of balloons and shit, or nuts or whatever. It was just like this most insane. These people are so obsessed.
It was an insane clown posse.
Anybody who can rally that fan base behind them to do anything can conquer the world.
I guess so. I mean, guess Axl missed the boat. He needs to just don some clown makeup, and I guess he could be more successful. I guess.
Oh my God.
Let's pretend I never said that. But I want to thank at the beginning of the episode. First, Walker Alford. He was on our last episode, and if you don't know the name, you should, or at least listen to the episode. So far, it's one of our best listened to episodes. I woke up the following day to messages literally all across the country and the world, like Croatia and Australia, the UK, Portugal. I mean, people just saying, like, wow, this is just some awesome information that he gave. And I was talking to you a little bit before, Art, that you only listened to the beginning of it, right? Because I know you're super busy, so I don't blame you. I don't take it too personally. But I would love to get your opinion when you do listen to it, because this is a guy, I don't want to say kid, because he's 23, to find out the information that he may or may not have, the audio that he may or may not have, unreleased material, talking about the real reasons of the departures of Buckethead and DJ Ashba and Brain. Excuse me, I have a hairball. So some of it may be bias. It depends. I know Anna from Portugal, one of our favorites over here, she messaged us loving the episode, wanting to contact Walker personally, which he opens that. He's like, hey, if you want some more information, if you don't believe me, contact me. So everybody who listened to the last episode, thank you. And especially Walker for coming on. So I guess I wanted to get that out of the way.
That's awesome. Well, what was something that he said to you that blew your mind about Chinese democracy that we can talk about?
Well, that I
can be blown away by.
Sure. The Chinese democracy, what you may know is that he tried to release it, several times, and the label kept fucking him over, specifically because they wanted Slash in the band, so they would create strife between him and Buckethead, and just he would find out the truth after. But this is I'm very curious though about your opinion on this. Because you're a journalist and you do research and all this fun stuff. Axl apparently has files on every single ex-member of the band. So he would break down albums like Slash's Snake Pit or the Juju Hounds album and go track by track as to what he liked and what he didn't like. And usually the end result would be why he couldn't reunite with them. So apparently, according to Walker, Axl Rose has crazy files on every ex-member of the band. Your thoughts, Art Divana?
I mean, I had coffee once with a guy who's, grew up with Slash and was really close with Axl for a period of time, and he's no longer in the inner circle. I won't say his name because he's just a weirdo now, and he's paranoid. He doesn't want to talk to anybody, and he's basically losing his fucking mind. So,
All right. Perfect.
So I won't say anything. But when he was still in the real world, I would say, about 5 years ago, I had coffee with him, and he talked to me about GNR, and it was like when I first started really writing about GNR about 5 years ago, and he told me something similar to that, but what he said was that Axl, the thing for me was, what is the reason that this feud, and we all know the rumors, we've all heard a million different reasons why Axl and Slash didn't speak for about 22 years or whatever. We've heard all the various, rumors, and I just, this guy was really close friends with Slash. At that point when I spoke to him, he was still friends with Slash and Axl. Not Axl anymore, but Slash. And, I asked what the deal was, and he said, well, Axl just doesn't forgive people very easily. And he has, documents or pieces of a notebook or a journal or something where he keeps a list of the reasons why each person is not on his friend list, basically. And so it was like, it's just something along the lines. I don't want to get too into it. This is something I really do want to say for the book. But yeah,
sure,
I believe it. I mean, I believe it to some extent. I also think, though, here's the thing, though. It's like all these fucking rumors, all these things about Axl's fucking, religious practices, the weird journals he keeps, or the, him, what he did or why he did it and how he did it. It's all just shit that came from former personal assistants and managers and hairdressers and basically people who, were in his inner circle, kicked out of his inner circle, and then went and told these stories to other people. And then those people told other people, and they got regurgitated and recycled with these weird sort of half-truths. Mm-hmm. So I don't really believe any of it, to be honest with you. My book is really going to try to not be that book, because who gives a shit?
You're right.
Why? It's like, yeah, Axl's sort of paranoid behavior and stuff. It's like, until Axl Rose can talk about it, it's really fucking hard for me to even go there, because it's like, as a journalist, how do you know what he was thinking? We don't.
You're right. No, absolutely right. And he could be lying to you anyway. So I would suggest reaching out to Walker, because his so-called agenda, because that's why we had him on, because he could be, I don't want to be a hub for someone to spout lies themselves. So that I spoke to him on the phone beforehand, to do my little good cop, bad cop thing, I guess. And he was a nice enough guy, and he was great on the episode. But his agenda was to show what Axl was all about, to dispel these rumors. And I guess a lot of the online forums thinks he has a lot of hate for Slash. And he's like, no, I like Slash, but he did things that upset Axl, and he's like, I really think it was just a matter of them getting into a room, and he's like, Slash apologizing, Slash maturing. And that's what kind of blew my mind as well, because like you said, after all these years, Axl had to apologize. Axl was the one that was supposed to mature. But according to him, it seemed to be more guilt or blame, I guess, on Slash's part. But people, grow up, I guess.
Well, I know Axl's POV on this. I won't say how, but I do know it, and I don't really want to talk about it, because honestly,
you shower with him. It's okay.
No, but it's like these are the things that are unnecessary. It's the gossip, sort of Us Weekly, People Magazine, TMZ shit. Mm-hmm. It's so boring. It's so stupid. What's interesting to me is the songs, how they wrote the songs, the characters, the drugs, the sex, the rock and roll, the sort of, and the hate, the sort of paranoid behavior and the weird shit that happened on the Use Your Illusion tour. Yeah, that's fascinating. But it was part of the music, was part of the tour. Mm-hmm. I don't know. To me, it's like, oh, who forgave who, and who's sorry first, and who made the first phone call, or whose girlfriend was responsible for getting the band together,
right.
All this shit is just, this is the stuff where it gets into weird sort of, blogger territory, and it's just it's fine, it's interesting. I don't really, I'm not saying this stuff to placate to GNR or management. I don't really care. They don't, they don't even talk to any journalists, period.
No, you're being honest. This is how you are.
Every journalist in the country is on their, persona non grata list anyway. So it's not that. Right. I'm just literally saying it's not interesting to me. It's it's taking rock and roll journalism to this weird internet culture thing where it's we're drinking tea and talking about fucking how Axl Rose, feels about Slash personally, and are they besties still, and are they still talking about fucking, it's like, come on.
Yeah.
And it's like Steven Adler. I interviewed Steven Adler, God bless his heart, love the guy, but he told me about the story about how Axl reached out to him, and he went to Vegas, and this is how they got back together, him and Adler. and he went to Vegas, and it was like 2000, and I think it was right after the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, like a few years after that, like 5 or 6 years. And they sat down in a hotel, and the sun was setting, and they talked about being friends and all those years and how they go back and the music and the Sunset Strip and all this shit. And it's like, that's beautiful to me. That's cool. That's like an interesting rock and roll. To me, it's like a movie. If I close my eyes and I watch a movie, what would I want that movie to be like? That to me is the story that needs to be told, not, oh my God, like who was the first one to call the first, it's like, this is fucking, it's like Taylor Swift and Katy Perry as a rock and roll band. No, I don't know. Sorry.
Watching you, we were talking last night, talking about the episode today, and I'm following your Twitter timeline, and you are a stronger man than me. I like to have my battles, on a podcast and radio.
Right.
But you have yours not only on Twitter, but with Katy Perry fans. And I just don't know how you have the patience to do it. And it's if you want to laugh, if you're not following Art Tavano now, just the timeline with him. You were saying what Taylor Swift was better than Katy, and you're talking about Grammys, and I'm just like, I'm sitting back watching. I'm like, this is just hilarious.
Well, Brandon, when you're on Adderall all day, no, I'm just no, I mean, look, dude, when I'm not on a deadline, when I'm not working on a story, and I'm not right now, I'm kind of on a weird limbo period between stories.
Sure.
I just wrote something pretty interesting. I worked in Hollywood for 5 years, literally like the casting couch. Saw it all. Wrote a story about that recently. So that and then when I finished that, I got bored. I had nothing to do. And I was talking to a girlfriend of mine who's an obsessed Taylor Swift fan. And, we're just talking about how everyone thinks every Taylor Swift fan is like a Republican or they're a white supremacist or something. This weird thing.
What?
There's this weird internet. Yeah, there's this weird internet culture that I don't know. I mean, you wouldn't know about unless you were really deep.
I'm not as
in
deep
the
as
sort of Taylor Swift universe. That there's assumption.
Can't say that I am.
Katy Perry fans that all Taylor Swift fans are like white supremacist, Nazi, Republican, conservative people or something. So I saw that. God. Yeah, I saw that, and then I realized, Katy Perry sucks. Like, there's nothing appealing about Katy Perry. Her new album sucked. It was panned by every music critic. It this whole it debuted at #1 nonsense.
That means
is
nothing.
Just bullshit.
That doesn't
and then
mean
it dropped
anything
off.
now.
But then it dropped faster than any other album in history. And then she hosted the worst rated VMAs in history. And
did not watch a second of it.
Yeah, she sucks. So I made a little joke about how she won no Grammys and Taylor Swift won 10. And I just thought it was nothing, a benign little joke. And I'm like, yeah, Taylor Swift can't, Taylor Swift wins Grammys and Katy Perry doesn't win Grammys. And then it was like thousands and thousands of these Katy cats. And by the way, that's what they're called. They're called
Katy cats. Hey, she has her Katy cats, and we have our. So I guess everyone has their own. But
yeah,
still.
Let's stop talking about this shit. Fuck this. Let's talk about Guns N' Roses, man. Stupid. Why are we doing this?
Well, I mean, I have a good segue to it, because I would see some. Actually, this is a great segue to what I want to get you on, because I know you have to leave in a little bit, and we'll get to that as well. When I was at the show when Pink came out at the Garden with Axl and Guns N' Roses, and it was great. And before Gaga really hit the scene, the only person music I really enjoyed as far as the pop scene was Pink. I mean, I felt she was rock enough. I liked her music. And it worked well for me. So when I see sites like Blabbermouth or Ultimate Classic Rock put things out, and it's no fault in them, it's the comments section. But just, what's with this pop shit crossover? First Metallica with Gaga, now Guns N' Roses with Pink. What's next? Avenged Sevenfold with One Direction or something like that. So I don't. Right. There's the segue, because if Taylor Swift came out, or if Katy Perry came out, because Katy Perry can't sing, and Taylor Swift, I feel like I read her lyrics in a crayon. So that would one of those would have bothered me as opposed to Pink. But along all of those, my long-winded reasons that I always get to, I wanted to start a new segment here called Get in the Ring, which is pretty, standard.
Get in the ring, motherfucker, and I'll kick your bitchy little ass.
Get in the ring.
Of course, that's our lovely voiceover friend Brittany doing that. Because Art, you deal with a lot of online trolls, and a lot of people just like, calling you a white supremacist, and if you like Taylor Swift, you're a white supremacist, all this bullshit. So I got this this comment on iTunes from DM_the kid, and it says, because the only reason I looked at because I look at the reviews, I read everything, and I just noticed we were all 5 stars on iTunes, and then I see 4.5. 4.5. How does that happen? So I see this 1-star review. A show I used to love now is just sound clips and the hosts talking over guests. Well, you can go fuck yourself.
Fuck you! Suck my fucking dick!
I like my sound bites. If they're Guns N' Roses related, they are fine. I get tons of comments from people thinking that they're funny. And to leave us a 1-star review, if you want to leave that comment, I don't give a shit about, criticism. But you're preventing us from getting out there. And getting out there to more listeners. If we get listed in the top 150 music podcasts on iTunes, more people see us. We interview more people. We give you better shows. So, DM the kid. You can
Antagonize me, motherfucker! Get in the ring, motherfucker! And I'll kick your bitchy little ass!
Get in the ring.
Pissed me off. Sorry, I had to do that with you, Art, because I know you deal with a lot of online trolling. Thank you for letting me vent.
Fuck anybody who criticizes your show. Fuck free speech. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, it's like whatever. Who cares? They're gonna say their thing. They're gonna criticize the show forever. That's the fan base,
You can criticize, but don't leave 1 star. If you say you like the show, and really we're the only Guns N' Roses podcast, out there. Really, right. Why don't leave a 1 star? Leave the criticism, but otherwise you're hurting everybody. Anyway, that's all I have to say.
Well, my opinion about what's more interesting than the douchebag on iTunes was the Pink performance. And I saw a video of it. I wasn't there. You were there, so you saw it better than I did. How was her voice? Did she sound good on Patience?
Yeah. Yeah, no, she sounded great in the videos I watched after because I was far away. I was just trying to get my phone out to just at least take a shitty picture of it. But no, she sounded great, man. It was a perfect song for her to be on. I wish she did more.
She's awesome. Yeah, no, she's awesome. I like her a lot. No, I don't. All these people who are these people who are against GNR collaborating with pop stars or GNR not being a hard rock band from the '80s anymore are delusional, lost, confused, sad, pathetic, and just don't understand anything anymore. Because it's like the world has moved on. I'm writing a book about the history, so I'm writing a book about the past. And I'm a nostalgia freak. I love the '80s. I'm obsessed. I have all the magazines. The band magazines, the fucking Circus, Hit Parader, all this shit from the 80s collected in a box. All I care about is the fucking past. But I have no reason to expect the current sort of generation or the current version of GNR or the current world to, capitulate to the way I want shit to be. It's 2017, man. Pop stars run the world. Rock and roll is number 2 to pop. It's unfortunate. Katy Perry can sell out a fucking stadium tour in 15 seconds. Whereas even GNR, for God's sakes, has to work to sell some tickets more than these people do. Like Beyonce and Katy Perry and these dolt pop stars have literally nothing to say. These vacuous, empty, vapid vessels of stupidity. They can sell out entire stadium tours in 15 seconds on the dot. Like Taylor Swift's tickets to her concert are so exclusive, she has to have contests to fucking win the tickets.
All these artists I feel have an expiration date, and that's how I look.
No, they don't. But they don't, Brando. They have internet, and they have social media, and they have PR marketing. They have no expiration date. Kim Kardashian has no expiration date. If Kim Kardashian, who's an absolutely empty sort of, one of the world's dumbest people,
she's
is
worthless.
Also one of the most famous people on the planet Earth.
Yeah.
So the fact that she can never go away, and she'll never go away, and her fame will just grow and grow and grow and grow. And I just saw a Twitter fucking thing right now as I'm talking to you. I mean, I kid you not. It says, it's literally a Twitter moment. It's people who want to celebrate Kim's birthday more than their own birthday. That's literally the moment. People who want to celebrate Kim's birthday more than their own birthday. So that's the world we live in. So there is an expiration.
I don't want to live in that. I mean, that's so you're trying to change it journalistically. I'm trying to change that. The dialogue with podcasts, of course, it's centered around GNR, but we talk about mental health and all these other important issues with it. So I'm with you. That's why I have you on. And that pisses me off. I mean, I don't want to accept that. I mean, I know what it is. I'm not going to stick my head in the ground like an ostrich. But, there are other parts of the world, and that makes me feel better, where a Katy Perry won't do as well as a Guns N' Roses or as a rock band. But unfortunately, for the most part, You are right, and I don't, and it pisses me off. I don't get it. I think I saw a meme this morning that said, 10 seasons of Duck Dynasty, but 1 season of Cosmos with Neil deGrasse Tyson. I mean, what does that say?
Yeah, I mean, we're just a bunch of idiots for the most part. So that's what it says. But it also says that we do have the right, and we do have the American privilege of being able to enjoy stupid shit and have a good time and not have to be intellectual about everything. Yes. I just think, look, I remember when, I'll never forget, and I flipped. I was one of those fanboys. I remember when Slash collaborated with Fergie. I flipped. I lost my fucking, you don't even know, like.
Good or bad way?
The reaction I
Wait, good or bad way? Good or bad way?
I was pissed.
Oh, okay.
Shit. Fergie sucks. She's just awful. And why is Slash, the greatest guitar player of my generation, well, second after Van Halen, collaborating with this fucking this girl who sings about her ass, literally has a song about her ass.
Her lovely lady lumps or whatever.
My hump.
Yeah, I mean, I was pissed. But then I figured out, and then I found out over the years she's a hardcore GNR fan. She grew up worshiping Axl.
Her kid's name is Axl. Her kid's name is Axl.
Her kid's name is Axl. It's like Lana Del Rey. Lana Del Rey is the same thing. She wrote a fucking song about Axl Rose. If Lana Del Rey came out and did a collaboration with Axl Rose, I bet that's awesome. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to even speak to the rumors about them dating or whatever. Who cares? But I'm just talking about the fact that this is a person who grew up as a big-time fan and now has the opportunity to live out that fantasy with the band. Like, that's awesome. To me, that's cool. Fergie was a fan, so it's okay. And then I was like, all right, it's fine. But if it's just like to do it because this pop star's got a lot of money and a lot of followers, and that would have been so heinous and stupid. I
agree.
But still, I mean, I don't.
And Ian, when we spoke about it last episode, Ian brought up that it was some like MTV Diary show where, it was about Pink and she's cruising around in her car blasting Guns N' Roses. So, I mean, she does go back. And I believe Dee Snider was saying the same thing online, talking about the fucking Kardashians and how they came out with those lines of shirts with Ozzy and they put their own image on it. And Dee would be like, I would be okay if they actually listened to these fucking bands. And if they want to, and the argument from some of his followers were, well, if it gets at least one person to listen to Slayer. He's like, do you think any Kim Kardashian fan or even a Bieber fan is going to see, Bieber and his Manson obsession now? Right. I mean, is he going to get one kid to listen to that music? I don't know.
Actually.
Maybe.
But I'm okay with pop stars who are musicians and artists, kind of appropriating or borrowing from or stealing from rock bands. Because Bieber's entire marketing tour and marketing sort of strategy and font and aesthetic was ripped off from Manson. That's like that's like a full blown. You just have to look. You just go on Google and Google.
What do you mean? What do you mean, briefly? Because obviously we don't give a shit about Bieber and Manson.
I don't know if you've noticed, even Taylor Swift recently with her Reputation kind of cover art and artistic direction. All these pop stars are purposefully borrowing from like a heavy metal aesthetic. And it's not because they're doing it because they love heavy metal. They're doing it because it's what's popular. I literally went to Forever 21 with this girl who I was dating. Okay. Yeah, I went to Forever 21 in Orange County. It's giant 2-floor Forever 21. And you know what the number one fucking like item you'll see is rock and roll shirts. Torn apart, fake fucking reappropriated rock shirts. It's a thing now. It's the fucking aesthetic. And they're borrowing it. They're ripping it off to make money off it.
You're right.
The problem with the Kardashians doing it.
I noticed it was happening in country music a lot too, with the chain wallets and just getting all tatted up. I mean, getting all tatted up used to be a rock thing, and then it just. I mean, you can do whatever you want. It's great. And you can argue that, rock took shit from the blues and all that fun stuff. But you're right. When it's just being sold as a fashion statement, you might find this also funny. I think there might be 3 or 4 girls on Tinder that I connected with that had a Guns N' Roses shirt on. None of them know anything about the band. I was like, okay. Awesome. I know. Well, it is awesome. And it's not like it's not a deal breaker. But I'm like, really? Come on.
Let's do like a quick get in the ring about that, actually. A quick one, like 5 seconds.
Get in the ring, motherfucker!
Here's the thing. I go to fucking mall. I'm a mall rat. Okay, like I said, I'm stuck in the fucking 80s. I don't really care about the current anything. So I go to malls all the time. Every mall in the fucking Southern California area, I've been to like 5 times. I see all the GNR merch. Okay, all of it in Hot Topics or Forever 21s or wherever they have it, Macy's, whatever. Target,
Spencer Gifts.
This band, okay, I love you. I love GNR guys. Like, if they ever fucking get this message, please update the merch. This band is so cool. They have so much interesting, badass history. The stuff Axl Rose, this is stuff fucking Axl Rose wore on the Use Your Illusion tour. Fucking do all that shit. Take the Manson shirts, make it a GNR shirt, make it like Axl's face instead of Manson's face. Take all that cool ass fucking shit that all of us love and redo it, man. Put a fucking new modern spin on the shit Axl wore on Use Your Illusion, or all of the different shirts that fucking Slash wears that are really fucking cool. I mean, Slash is a horror movie fan, right?
Yeah, big time.
He has his own goddamn production company. Why don't we just have Slash do a horror film T-shirt line and put it out? Like, what is going on? This is the only complaint I have about the current resurgence of this band. They've literally forgotten about merch and cool shit.
Well, what about the lithographs? What about the lithographs that every show?
Those are fucking awesome. They were badass. But I'm talking about the shirts more.
Sure.
I'm talking about shirts and sweaters. Like, even the shirts and sweaters, it's just, you know, and I think what it is, this is my opinion, I could be wrong. I think it was so hard to negotiate this reunion that they were like, you know what? The only merch we're going to fucking put out, really, is the goddamn Colt Pistols and the fucking Rose logo and the Bullet logo and just call it a day.
Well,
we're just going to put that on a bunch of shit. We're going to stamp it on a bunch of shirts and put it out.
I'm curious. I'm curious about this though, because you are right, and you know I went to that one show at MSG, and I bought like another shirt. It was like, but you know, the typical logo, baseball style tee. Some of the lithographs are on T-shirts. I will say that before I get angry emails. But this was posted actually yesterday. I don't know if you're in this Facebook group, Not in This Lifetime, the GNR fan spot, and it's from Kohl's. All right, and it actually has Frank in it. It's just like a concert shot of a live show where you see Slash up front rocking out. Duff's back is to the drums. I guess Axl's back there getting a drink of water by the drums, and you see Frank back there. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Someone just made that. That's not. Yeah, official. It's from Kohl's, but I know Kohl's doesn't always do everything, officially. I see UK tour 1987 at Kohl's. So if you weren't born, you can get it. Yeah, they're probably gonna get lawsuit when someone figures that out. So the thing is, like GNR, we gotta remember, like this is a band that has a pretty tight knit management team and a really kind of. It isn't like they have a giant corporation of 750 lawyers and fact checkers running around the internet. There's probably people making illegal merch and putting it out there and selling it for sure. Oh, absolutely, yeah. And they're not catching it, But I mean, just do some cool shit. It's not that hard, guys. The lithographs are bad. I remember the one where it was like the skull skater guy. Okay. And he was doing like this. He's busting a fucking ollie in the air, and that was like one of the most popular ones. It sold out when it came to Los Angeles. But that was the most badass one. I remember fans thinking that was like a sort of a homage to Izzy. But there's a photo of Izzy doing that in like one of his yearbooks or something, and it's like exact photo versus lithograph. Anyway, update the merch, make it more fun. Fuck it. The tour's almost over, but why not? Give us a fucking DVD. Give us a fucking. I want a fucking GNR video game. Where's the video game where it's like Slash and Axl like together in a side scroller beating the shit out of a bunch of fucking stupid hipsters? That's the game that I want to play. I'm just visualizing like it's the old school X-Men game where it's like an actual arcade game and you're just fighting hipsters going along, and everyone has like their own superpower. Maybe Slash's hair goes out super long like Spawn's cape or something like that. Oh my god. Yes. And then Duff like descends from like some punk rock minivan and gets out with a bunch of Ninja Turtles and beats the living crap out of a bunch of fucking stupid like idiots drinking craft coffee and playing fake retro arcades and like fucking eating Korean barbecue somewhere. Or Melissa Reese could be like Jubilee, but instead of sparkles, it's just like Reese's Pieces. I love Melissa Reese. She's her Twitter and her social media is like the funnest, most cartoony. She's like a little, I don't know what it is. She's like a Suicide Girl or Suicide Squad character in GNR. It's like the coolest, weirdest, most like strange thing I never thought I'd ever see. She's awesome. I love it. And if anybody is listening that cares about
Melissa Reese at all, just go on her social media and like it, talk to her, exchange words with her. She's fucking awesome, and she's really down to earth. She'll talk to anybody, and she's chill, and she's not, no offense to Axel, Slash, and Duff. God bless them, they're awesome. But, they're not going to respond to a tweet. But she will. She's awesome. She's she's a GNR member you can all talk to. Go do it. Why are people so, this whole, pushback? Why is there a random, girl? It's she's fucking awesome. Who cares?
Yeah,
Grow
I don't
the fuck
get that.
up, you jealous pieces. Grow up, you jealous bastards.
No, she's awesome. I believe it's the Melissa Reese on Instagram and Twitter, because I follow her as well. And I think actually one of the things that you may speak to Walker about that you touched on last episode was that he knew about Melissa working with Brain on in the studio sessions for Chinese.
Right.
And he was like, I never thought in my life that she would be on the stage version. He's like, that's so cool when she was going on stage. I don't know. He made it sound like he watched his sister, make the get the call up to the majors or something like that. So that was very, very cool, man.
Right, with Brain, yeah, she collaborated with him. They had a great little interesting musical partnership, and that's how she got involved in GNR. That is a fucking good story. I wish I had a chance to talk to Melissa about Chinese democracy, but I never did.
You have your article out now, though, that we can just it's on LAweekly.com, or where's your Melissa article?
I interviewed Melissa a year ago or some shit. I don't know, a few months ago. It's on the LA Weekly website, or
okay.
If you guys want to just go on my Twitter at Art Tavana, ARTTAVANA, and just check out my website. All my GNR shit's on there. And if you guys want to talk about Guns N' Roses, hit me up on there, and we can just exchange words. And if you guys, another thing is, I want to put this out to all the fans. If you've been on the Not in This Lifetime tour, and you're also a GNR fan who saw them in the 80s, I want to talk to you for my book. So I want to talk to people who saw GNR in the original sort of, not necessarily the original lineup, but whatever, the 80s versions or the 90s versions of that band, Use Your Illusion to, Appetite Era, and people who then resaw them in their hometown on Not in This Lifetime, and your perception or your thoughts on the difference or the cool factor and the changes or whatever. Just hit me up on Twitter, whatever, let's talk.
Awesome. Because I know plenty of people like that, and when you hear the reactions and saying, some people say he sounds better, or they're great, or it brings back memories. It's just wow. So definitely reach out to Art. I also do want to just quickly mention Frank Farrar does sometimes respond. He did like my comment. Because I'm such a teeny bopper sometimes. Oh, he liked my comment on Facebook. When I don't know, I think he must have done it in all the MSG shows, but at least for the one that I went to when they introduced him, he made the sign that Larry Johnson, the former basketball player for the Knicks, made with his arms, and I put that picture up on his Facebook, and he liked it, so that made me feel good about myself. That's all. It was a pointless story, but he responds too sometimes.
To be fair, Del James responds. He's cool. He's awesome.
Yes.
Really nice guy and whatever. So they respond. Whatever. I'm just saying, for the band members who are, at the forefront sort of popularity right now, Melissa's the most chill. You can just talk to her kind of deal. I don't know. Maybe Richard Fortas responds. I feel like he does, but I don't really talk to Richard Fortas ever on anything. But I heard he talked about Izzy and stuff before. So that's kind of cool.
I'm close. I know people who are friends with Richard and also Frank, and I'm trying to grease those wheels. Because I understand it's tricky. Like how Gilby Clark just did an interview, but it was a print interview talking about Guns N' Roses, and I've reached out to him before, and I know this could be intimidating, especially since I'm not like fucking Howard Stern to Elvis Duran that everybody knows who I am, that they don't feel threatened. But the more episodes that we do, the more people that are in that circle, hoping to gain that trust. Any other updates? Because before I let you go, because I know you have a very busy or very important meeting, I should say.
I got 20 more minutes or whatever. But yeah, updates,
oh, okay.
No, not really any updates. Just sort of working on the book, the GNR book. I'm meeting a Geffen publicist today to continue my. I think now it's been. Well, let me see. 5 years essentially that I've been on and off, vaguely bizarrely working on this book. And it sounds crazy to people, but yeah, it was the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was when I made the decision to write about this band. And then I got my book deal properly about a year ago. So, but yeah, You know, you should get on the show. Oh God,
Who?
that would be a great get. Let's try to get Ricky Rackman on the show. That'd be awesome. I'd be so into that.
Because I reached out to Racky, to Ricky.
Racky? What the fuck was that? Banging? What was that?
I think that's a new kind of Pokemon. Ricky Rackman. He wasn't, because he's always doing these bike, trails. He's always on his motorcycle going around the country. And he was in the city, and I hit him up on our Twitter, and he responded. And he's like, oh, you hit me up on my last day. So he did respond. So I'd like to think that door is open at some point to reach out to Ricky Rackman. Because I don't think he talks about Headbangers Ball too much now, but I'm sure he would still have some interesting GNR stories. So,
if Ricky Rackman's out there, anybody knows how to get to him, let me know. I mean, I've talked to him once or twice, but he's sort of fallen off the radar. But if he wants to talk about GNR, let's do it. Let's get him on the show. That'd be really fucking fun. Although I will say I've heard the relationship with him and GNR is not too great. So I don't know if that matters. I don't even know if that means, but whatever. I mean, rock and roll, people fight, people getting grudges. Everyone needs to stop being such pussies. Just have some fun. Put it all behind you. The 80s are over. The 90s are over. The fucking, most of the 2000s are fucking over. And let's just fucking rock and roll, enjoy, talk about life, talk about the stories, talk about the history, give the fans snippets, weird quotes and weird visions that they've never had before. And let's put aside the egos and the cocaine for like a month. Just have fun.
I agree with you. Unless, you ran over somebody's dog or shot the grandma in the face. I mean, you can forgive anything. Come on.
Dude, you should get on the show, Tawny. You should get Tawny Kane.
I like that idea. Does she have a GNR connection? I mean,
Who cares? Who cares?
You know what? You don't have to have a follow-up to that. Who cares? Just to get Tawny Kane on.
I mean, she was at the Cat House and shit. Yeah, she probably has some GNR connection or some Sunset Strip connection.
I know I'm supposed to reach out to, and hopefully he says yes, Jimmy Webb. When Slash and everybody was in town for the recent MSG shows, him and Duff and Duff's wife Susan were at this clothes store opening. I Need More is the name of the clothes store. And I guess I'm in New York. I saw one of Slash's Instagrams about him saying that he's one of the nicest people he's ever met in rock and roll. I'm like, I got to talk to this guy. So I did speak to him on the phone. Super nice guy. I actually left him a voicemail, and it was all about Iggy Pop. I'm like, oh, this guy's got fucking great. What is this? So I ended up speaking to him, and he's like, I'm actually friends with Slash and Duff, but why do you want to talk to me? I'm not a musician. This would be the second radio show I've ever been on. The last time I was on was Studio 54. What? That's exactly what I want to talk to you. And, and I guess just how I mentioned with Gilby or any other person I would like to get on, I said, you don't have to tell me anything inappropriate. I just want to know, did Slash steal your popcorn when you went to the movies? That could be funny. So hopefully we get on Jimmy Webb soon. So we're getting a lot of people. Keep suggesting. I mean, it's amazing. We do get suggestions for guests, even including fans. We interviewed Kevin from Ireland with UArt on the line, and there was somebody who hit me up right after our last episode from forgive me, I forget his name, but from Croatia, and he was telling me how he used to drop bombs in the service listening to Appetite, and almost dying. I'm like, this are fucking great stories, man. So if you have a great story, not only reach out to Art, reach out to us. Same thing.
Oh, who was it? Who was the dropping bombs in Iraq listening to Appetite?
It was a listener from Croatia. I'm going to see if I can find the tweet.
He's an American?
No, he lives in Croatia. I'm saying we get messages from literally across the globe. I'm going to see if
you know who I'd really want to talk to. Let's put this out there to them. That'd be an awesome show. Is an American soldier who went to the first Gulf War, Desert Storm, and was listening to Use Your Illusion or Appetite. Appetite. I think Use Your Illusion still hadn't come out yet, but Appetite, and had a cassette on their fucking Walkman and was fucking launching missiles and sniping fucking Iraqis with a fucking that would be, oh god, that'd be so badass. That to me is the ultimate movie. Is the vision of this American soldier, a jarhead, a Marine with this camo, sitting in a desert with a sniper rifle with a Walkman on his head, listening a yellow Walkman, listening to Appetite for Destruction and just sniping fucking Iraqis.
Oh, I know.
Is that disturbing? I don't know. I love that.
No, that creates a good visual. And okay, I found it. He goes, I'm a Croatian war veteran. I have so many stories blasting GNR over mine ground to Serbian soldiers. Welcome to the jungle in capital letters. I'm like, fuck yeah, we gotta talk to you. So he's like, absolutely. So that's exactly. See, that's what I like. In addition to like last episode, we find out little tidbits and little secrets, stories. You know, like maybe we can change the show to, instead of making a murderer, it could be making a GNRer. You know, to see what makes us all tick around this GNR world that we're in.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. You know what? God, that'd be so cool. I kind of wish I was on the Chinese Democracy episode. That would have been fun because there's so much to talk about. It's the perfect time. We're getting into the 10-year anniversary of that record.
Oh,
so,
I can't.
But anyway,
10 years. Well, we're gonna have him on again. There was more to say because it went longer than we even wanted. I think it was nearly a 2-hour episode. So by all means, next time we have Walker on, which he said he'd be happy to. He's also overwhelmed with all the positive responses because he's getting tweets and Facebook and all that fun stuff. And actually, I think we're getting called by Desi right now. So hold on 1 second.
What's up, Desi? Nice to meet you. Or nice to. How's it going?
I did the same thing to Art, man. I gotta stop fucking smoking pot and be aware of time zones. And thank you both for dealing with my unprofessional nature. So thank you.
It's more than fine. It's okay.
Well, I'm glad that I wanted Art to kind of co-host this episode with me because Desi, when you reached out, you're talking about a time period that Art is really researching.
Hey, Desi, do people ever hit you up about the decline of Western civilization thing?
Yeah, totally.
I love that. That's how I knew you. I always saw that documentary and you were in it. But I didn't, like, when I saw it as a kid or when I saw it a few years ago, I didn't know who you were, but I saw you in it constantly, and I was like, man, he's funny, he's interesting, he's like a real character, like he'd be someone cool to talk to. And
it's so funny because I never saw it.
To this day, you've never seen it?
No. I have a clip, and I never saw it. Like, honestly, it's so funny because that really wasn't my scene, but I knew them, and I knew Penelope because I used to hang out in her house with her daughter Anna and Tracy and Todd Muscat.
Oh,
you know,
okay.
I knew these people like my mother.
You just ended up being in it in a kind of random occurrence kind of thing.
Well, that was the scene, but that was the other scene. She delved in like the Poisons, the Odins,
right.
You know, like Lizzie Borden's, you know.
Yeah, Lizzie Borden. That's awesome. Pastor Pussycat.
But Pastor Pussycat was my friends.
Let's backtrack a second though. So, Scenesters, Music Mayhem, and Melrose Avenue, 1985 to 1990 is the name of your documentary, and we're just briefly touching on just some of what you've experienced. And also, you were a talent agent for which record company as well?
When I was 19, I worked at Virgin Records.
What were you? You were a talent agent, correct?
You know, I was a talent scout. Talent scout, talent agent. You know, yeah.
I'm allowed to get that wrong, I think. And you were a roadie for Slash as well, because I kind of just want to paint a little bit of a picture before we get into the meat and potatoes.
Basically, I was a roadie. I met Slash at the Troubadour when Lines and Ghosts and the Joneses played. And I said, you know, I would love to come roadie for you because I saw the band Guns N' Roses, but I didn't see him in the band. I saw Tracy Guns in the band. And I said, okay, you know, that's a scene, I'm in. I was 17 years old at the time. And basically he said, meet me at the Troubadour at 4 o'clock in the afternoon behind the Troubadour, and you could be my roadie.
Huh.
And that's it.
And that's it. Just as simple as that. That would not happen nowadays.
So having seen Tracy Guns and Slash play in those early shows of GNR, what did you think on the difference between the two players?
Night and day.
Explain what you mean.
Slash is a god. I'm sorry, but no. Slash was so good. Like, it's so funny because during my interviews, like, people that I know that knew them, you know, this one guy said, who grew up with them, he said, you know, Tracy always sucked, but Slash was good at age 14. He was so good.
That's true. That's true. I remember talking to Mark Cantor. I had coffee with Mark Cantor a couple of years ago, and he talked to me about Slash in, like, West LA in a garage playing his guitar from, like BC Rich, Mockingbird, and he was like this weird hybrid of Jimi Hendrix and Van Halen, and nobody had ever seen anything like that before.
He was so good. And, like, the band was, like, fire. You know, like, it was so great.
Heck yeah.
Because, like, they had, like, punk rock and rock and roll. They were the hybrid. Duff and Izzy came from that Hanoi Rocks and, you know, Black Flag thing. And, like, Steven Adler came from, like, and Slash came from Aerosmith. And Axl came from, like, the loudest singer ever. It was so good.
That's what we heard. I don't know if you know Alan St. Elisa. He was in. Oh, we spoke about that the other day, didn't we, Desi? From Shire. And
yeah, I heard of the band Shire.
Right. So when within Shire, Izzy was a part of it very, very briefly, even before Hollywood Rose. And when he said he met Axl Rose for the first time, he never heard anyone sing that loud before. Like, it was just AC/DC, but with more balls, if you can believe it or not. So that's how he expressed it. So the story seems to be consistent. So I want to get a little bit more about you and your path and into making this documentary. So you're from LA originally? Oh, you're calling from Las Vegas, though, today, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And we also did have a little bond because I found out that, not found out, like I really did some investigating reporting, that you're friends with our friend Raz Q, who managed LA Guns back in the day. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, and I just started talking like, hey, you know, Raz and I bonded over the fact that we're both handicapped, you know, because I see the cover of his book with handicap logos. And then you mentioned apparently we're the three amigos. So I just want, and forgive me, I guess since I'm also handicapped, I'm allowed to bring it up. That's in today's culture. You got into an accident a few years ago, so I just wanted, because I know there's the podcast, and I can hear you fine, but if there's, you know, anything, because once you told me you were in a major car accident and you still remember all these things, then you're like, oh, well, I didn't do drugs. Well, apparently getting into a car accident is somehow better than doing drugs because you remember everything.
It's amazing because I remember everything crystal clear, but I can't remember 11:30 to on March 23rd, 2009, and 6 weeks later, I woke up.
Unbelievable.
You know, I can't remember the accident.
Well, I'm glad that you're here.
Thank you.
Of all, I guess that goes without saying. I just want to, you know, because it's a podcast, people listen, so I guess at least wanted to get that out of the way. So forgive me for it. So you grew up in L.A., and then what kind of kid were you? Were you a rock and roll kid? How did you get into whatever scene that you were in that your documentary covers?
You know, basically, I was a rock and roll kid. I loved Circus Magazine, Hit Parader, all the magazines. And I would go and read the liner notes. And basically, I grew up in Culver City. And these guys from Rat would hang out there at Bob's Liquor and read the magazines with me. And Stephen Piercy said, dude, we're in the magazine. And I would read the magazines and basically saw that these people that I idolized had histories in the Hollywood clubs. Now, granted, I was too young for the Starwood, and the Roxy was closed. and the whiskey had like dance music, but the Troubadour was it. And it was really like 2 miles away from me. And I went there. I lived it. I loved it.
That's awesome. So how did you get into, like, you started going to shows? You remember what your first show was? Your first concert you ever saw?
I think London.
Oh, wow.
Oh, nice.
So that was with Nikki Sixx, correct?
No.
Well, not yet?
London with Nikki Sixx was in 79, 80.
Okay.
I missed the Motley Crue at the Starwood. You know, I delved into Motley Crue probably at Shadow of the Devil.
It's an interesting thing because I've talked to so many guys like you did from your generation, or people who saw Motley Crue in a heyday, and then now 30 years later. What do you think in sort of with foresight, looking back at bands like Guns N' Roses and Motley Crue, and how different GNR is from Motley Crue? But how's your perception of Motley Crue changed over the years? Do you still think they were as great as they were when you saw them, or has sort of hindsight altered your perception? What do you think all these years later?
Oh, well, Motley Crue, basically, they had 5 great records. And in the beginning of the 1990s, they were done. And they were done ever since.
Yeah.
You know.
That's true. They've done nothing since. They've done nothing since, like, what was it? Not Shout Devil. What was the record that came after that?
Dr. Feelgood.
Yeah, Dr. Feelgood's pretty much, yeah. And then, I never really, the thing was for me with Motley Crue, I loved that band. It was fun. It was exciting, those records. I wasn't from that era. I think you had to have been, I feel like with Motley Crue, you had to have been from that era at those shows, at those parties, and been a part of it to really appreciate that band. Whereas GNR, you could be 19 years old in 2017 and put on Appetite for Destruction and be like, this is the best fucking record I've ever heard. Which is what the unique difference, I think, between the two bands. I think Motley Crue is more about lifestyle, and I think GNR was more like Led Zeppelin in a weird way.
To Art's point, I've kind of, I liked Motley Crue. I still do. But as I've gotten older, it's just I don't identify with the lyrics as much. Because it is about partying. It is about a lifestyle. I want to be in bed, by 11. I don't want to get up at 11. But with Guns N' Roses, their songs, there's such a variety for like every age group, and such a maturity to their songwriting that I haven't grown out of it.
Look, it's like Led Zeppelin versus some 60s psychedelic band that was really awesome, or some 60s rock and roll band that really focused on their scene. I feel like Motley Crue is really about the scene, and if you're a part of that scene, you really love that band, because they're talking about your life. Where GNR sort of left the scene and became something quite bigger and different, and sort of just a different kind of rock and roll band. It's not taking away anything from Motley Crue. They're phenomenally talented musicians. Those records will stand the test of time, but still, I just don't think, I don't know, it was just an interesting story. I just wanted to get your POV on it. That's awesome that you were there.
Well, I think the interesting thing about Motley Crue is they would, maybe it's my analogy, maybe I'm wrong, but they would go to LA to see what's happening and bust it out on the world, okay? Now, granted, Shadow of the Devil was the LA metal scene. Flat out, it was a pit. Like Keel and Steeler and like a lot of stuff happened at the time. The Great White, the Rats, and all of a sudden, Theater of the Pain happened, and like Poison happened. And Dr. Feelgood, actually, Girls, happened at the same time as GNR, like the biker thing. Like Nikki, like, I love Nikki, but I respect him, but he wears his influences on his sleeve. Mm-hmm.
I see what you mean by that.
Like you could basically, he's a product of Sweet. He's a product of Slade.
Absolutely.
He loves his influences.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's true. I think GNR really changed their sound. they love their influences, but they never try to sound like anybody. Although to me, it's weird. The older I get, the more GNR sounds like Zeppelin to me. In a sort of an 80s, trashy, sleazy version of Led Zeppelin, more and more every year to me. But I have to run because I'm actually going to meet with like a former FNPR person really soon for like an interview thing. But Desi was super, super fucking cool to meet you. I'd love to talk to you again one day about my book. I'm writing a book about GNR, so maybe we can talk again.
Great.
See, I'm meeting all these awesome people, Desi, through doing this Guns N' Roses podcast, and Art Ivana being one of them, and obviously you being another. And when I spoke to Art about who I'm going to interview next, he wanted to come on, so of course. And people are busy, so I appreciate Art coming on, but we're going to continue with Desi, of course. We have all the time in the world, right? So other than Guns N' Roses, what other bands do you cover in the documentary, and what was the reason behind it? Why did you want to put this out?
I was watching the Jon Stewart show, and they have these people.
Wait, the Jon Stewart show or the Daily Show? Because there was the Jon Stewart show before.
No, you're right. The Daily Show.
Okay. Sorry. I'm being overly nerdy about it.
Anyways, they had a documentary, a book coming out where these people, I can't remember the documentary, but basically in Trenton, New Jersey, there was a scene, and it was a great scene, and I've been to the club. It was like a punk rock club. And basically, Jon Stewart was the bartender there, actually. And they had these guys on, and I thought to myself, there was no scene, a documentary, involving that scene, that L.A., East La Cienega, underground Melrose Avenue scene.
Are you trying to get? I guess people don't know that there were a lot of sub scenes.
There was a sub scene. There was basically goth, alternative, garage, and rock melded together. East La Cienega, like the Roxy, the Whiskey, the Troubadour had these Sunset Strip. Like nonstop, pay to play. Anybody could show up with $600 and do their gig. But good matches up with good in that era. East of La Cienega, and the clubs. A club called Scream was amazing. White Trash A Go was amazing. It was like a dance meets rock. It's a very interesting thing that happened in basically 1985 to 1990.
So what was the scene there? What kind of people would go? Would it be predominantly men, women? What kind of...
Women, very goth, very black clothes, very cowboy hats, very... The Cure meets Aerosmith.
So tell me some of the bands that you've seen and what it was like seeing Jane's Addiction for the first time, because I know you also got the Chili Peppers in there, and they've had such a long and just interesting career of their sound. So I want to know some of the bands that are covered in your documentary.
Jane's Addiction. I saw the first show, and they were amazing. They still are, but they were. God, they were like a Led Zeppelin meets Gothic meets very ethereal. Imagine going to downtown Los Angeles or East LA or a very, very bad part of New York and seeing some band in a basement and
Yeah, no, I've done that with friends. Bands in basements, bands in woodsheds. That's what you got to do before you get booked. But I've never seen a band play a garage and then all of a sudden become Jane's Addiction or Guns N' Roses. I've never seen that.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. Like these people, it was like warehouse bands, basically warehouses. They would get a warehouse, an old converted warehouse, and show up with a PA and invite their 3,000 friends.
I mean, this is a lost era in time. So that's why your documentary, even when we posted that we're going to have you on, we're getting messages of people saying that I love this. Because there are so many out there, but you're really like hyper local, for lack of a better phrase, on something that hasn't been spoken about and touched on. Because I want to know about more about Jane's Addiction, and I want to know more about the Chili Peppers, and of course Guns N' Roses. This being Guns N' Roses podcast, what have your interactions been with any of the members since? Because I can imagine the amount of people that you've worked with over time.
I haven't seen Slash since they got signed.
Okay.
Honestly, I remember clearly.
Because that's why I think it's funny where, you said, hey, can I be your roadie? And he's like, yeah, sure. Because he's not Slash.
Yeah,
and when he becomes Slash, it's like, all right, goodbye.
I would never ask for a ticket. I saw Guns N' Roses opening at the Coliseum for the Rolling Stones, I think 1989. And that's it,
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
So do you have any desire to see the reunited version of people you kind of knew growing up?
I don't go out much.
Yeah.
A friend of mine said, staying in is the new going out.
Well, I guess when you have everything at your fingertips, there's
the internet.
Oh, for sure. Well, I don't know.
And I'm deaf in one ear, by the way.
Yes, you did tell me that.
Yeah, so I have to, protect the 1 year that I have left.
Well, I do. When I do go to shows, I get handicap seats, and then whenever you're handicapped, at least in my experience, they treat you like a king. I mean, maybe because I'm younger, and I don't know. Maybe they think I'm kind of slow at the same time.
What happened to you?
I have a neurological disorder. Demyelinating peripheral neuropathy. Yeah, very sexy. I say that 5 times fast. Something's missing in the nerves, so the message doesn't fully get there for the brain, so the muscles are weaker just because the nerves aren't working correct. So that's kind of been...
You sound great to me.
Well, I mean, when people meet me, they don't know. I've gotten, especially since I use a cane, I've had people think that I'm a part-time pimp. I went on a date with this girl that thought, she's like, when I first met you and you were walking, you were so cool. You were gliding across the I'm like, no, I was limping. That's how I walk.
It's a physical thing.
Oh, it's a physical thing. Yes, it's a physical. Oh, I do have mental stuff. I mean, suffer from depression and all that fun stuff. And that's why I identify with, Axl's lyrics. I identify with Chester Bennington and Chris Cornell's lyrics growing up. And now when I go to these shows, I will sometimes. I didn't when I was younger because I didn't want to be different. When I wanted to be up against the stage for whatever show I can, or if I'm holding out to something. But now, the last couple times I've seen GNR, at Giant Stadium and then Madison Square Garden, just put handicap seats. It's usually by an overhang, and they just put out some folding chairs for you. And I get in. I think that's actually how I'm not with all the Guns N' Roses lithographs that are going on every single tour that people are paying. Well, you pay $50 for them, and apparently they're on eBay now for $150. Because I just wanted one, so I go in there and it's a stack of 50 of them. How is that possible? And I realized after I went into the handicap entrance. And I was ahead of everybody. So that's why. So I'm with you, Desi, where I'd like to be home. And that's why it's something we have discussed with the new start times of Guns N' Roses, how this band didn't used to go on until 1 o'clock in the morning. And when I saw them, they're going on at 7:45. I like that. I want to be in bed. So that's my boring story. Not as interesting as yours, but I wanted to find out from Raz how his disability affected, his that scene, but yours happened after the fact because that always.
Oh, I was 40 years old.
I mean, that's difficult. I don't know because mine started around when I was 10. Raz was 15. Everyone's got their own tale. This is something I was going to talk about with Art. Maybe I can get your opinion on it as well. I mean, a band like Guns N' Roses or Jane's Addiction couldn't happen now.
You can't. It can't exist. There's YouTube. There's cell phones. There's Instagrams. There's no grassroots.
Right. And it's sad. It's sad. So that's what your documentary is covering. So who did you interview? How did you go about making this documentary? And I'm assuming this is your first one that you've done?
First one.
First one. Well, Mazel Tov. Congratulations. So who did you interview?
L'chaim.
To life. I like that. Well, you got to get the L'chaim. You got to get the in there.
No, trust me. My real name is Mizrahi.
Oh, is it?
Okay.
All right.
Yes.
Oh, look at see one part of the tribe. I love it.
Oh yeah.
I love it. So how did you go about creating this documentary? Who were the people who you interviewed?
Basically people that I knew, and it was hard to nail down certain people, and a lot of people were great about it, and I would do guerrilla interviewing. I would go to parks. I would go to studios. I would go to my house and interview people everywhere.
Yeah, I was watching the trailer, and it was just cool, all the different settings that you had it.
Yeah.
And I was also watching and this is somebody that I reached out to him, I want to say maybe last year at some point, but Dave Navarro. And
yes.
And I was watching a clip where you called into his show, and he was so happy to hear from you, because Dave was briefly, I don't know if you could ever call him that he was in Guns N' Roses, but I believe he did some of the Chinese Democracy. He was part of that era, like one of the guitarists that came in and out. So I would love to talk to him about that at some point. So
I read Slash's book. Did you read Slash's book?
I did.
And basically, Slash said he's not into you guys. He's not down with, this guy isn't, showing up. And I think he blew them off. It was not his thing.
Well, that you can understand. I mean, even with the supposed direction that GNR was going with that "Oh My God" track and perhaps a more industrial sound.
Yeah,
But I'm just wondering, was there an agreement in place and he just didn't show up, or he just said no thanks, or did it just not work out? Maybe like Zach.
I have no idea.
All right,
I have no idea.
A lot of moving parts. That's why I'm glad your documentary touches on a certain sect, a certain scene that has not been covered, because the Sunset Strip has been spoken about. I don't know what else there is to say. Just read The Dirt. Read Motley Crue's book. That's all you need to know.
Decline of Western Civilization, Part 2. That's it.
Right. So I can't believe, because you mentioned that before, before Art jumped off, and I remember watching that for the first time in college, and loved that documentary for the good and the bad and the ugly and all of that. And I can't believe you've never seen it though. Like, do you? Is that by choice, or you've never sat down and watched it?
Yes, it's not.
Would it depress you? Because hey, I used to have that kind of haircut.
No, it's okay, I don't know. It really didn't excite me because I lived it.
Okay, fair. Well, I mean, in the same clip, and we did post it, and we'll post it again after the episode, that has you at the end. It has one of the best, there's two, I think, in my opinion, infamous scenes from the movie. And forgive me, of course I forget the guys from Rat, yes, when he's drinking in the pool.
The Wasp, yeah.
From Wasp, yes. And Ozzy cooking eggs in his robe and the blonde hair. You're in the Ozzy scene. And
actually, Ozzy, me, and Aerosmith was the same day at Miles Copeland's house.
Awesome. I mean, that's just so cool. I want to reach out to Penelope as well. There's a lot of people I want to talk to. Mm-hmm. And then, what do you remember from being Slash's roadie? And you said it was only for like the first 4 shows, 5 shows?
4 shows, yeah.
4 shows. So, what do you remember?
I would go visit him at the magazine stand. I was barely 17.
Winger's song was not about you, not to cut you off.
No.
Okay. No. I just want to make sure.
They were moving, like they needed real people. Like I played left-handed. I played bass.
Okay.
I would be a good bass tech, but Slash needs a guy, and he was so good, and he was amazing. It's so funny because nowadays you could see him staying there, the top hat, the curly hair, smoking cigarettes. Back then, it was like Chuck Berry.
Oh.
He was all over the place. He was so good, and they were so good.
I love that because the Chuck Berry reference too, because it creates a great visual, and you could tell his influence by Chuck. And we know Axl loved Chuck as well. Did you interact with any other GNR members during the roadie time, or no? Steven. So, what was your impression of him back then?
Wonderful guy.
It's
really sweet guy, and he was a fan of music.
That's what I like when you hear the consistent stories from people. That's how you know it's not bullshit. Where everyone I speak to about Steven, wonderful guy, sweet guy. Slash, always hear great stories. Very, very warm. Izzy, I don't know if you ever ran into him, but
yeah.
You did, okay? Because I usually get, he was the coolest guy on the planet. That's usually the consensus. So you made a noise though if you came across Izzy. He was
to himself.
Okay.
There was a lot of drugs back then. Mm-hmm. Brown.
Okay. So was there I don't want you to say anything that could get you or him or anyone in trouble, or is there just uncomfortable situations? Because his drug abuse is documented, so it's not like you're revealing anything about that. But was there anything that happened to you specifically that made you uncomfortable? Because you mentioned that you didn't do a lot of drugs, so it could just be that you were just hey, this isn't my scene, I'm uncomfortable. Or am I being too much of a Jewish mother about this?
I remember me and Izzy was backstage at the Roadie, and he said, "Watch the door." It was only me and him at backstage, and he says, "I'm gonna do Brown," and I didn't know what it was.
Yeah,
I didn't know, and me and Slash and Mark Cantor and Yvonne, Slash's girlfriend at the time, great girl, beautiful girl. We went out to Cantor's afterwards, and I said to Slash, "What's Brown?"
Oh, innocent, innocent little Desi.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, I could see that, and that they, especially because you were young at the time, of course. And I could, yeah. So if you're not, a rock star, or you're not in that scene. I remember the first time.
I didn't have a car.
Yeah, that could be traumatizing. Absolutely. So I get it. I've been there the first time. I see drugs or see a beer, when you're young. That can have an effect. So I understand that.
Listen, I've been working on this documentary for a while, and due to the age, I have a rest in peace section of the credits, and I would have to continually update it and update it and update it. Mm. Okay, this guy died, that guy died, this guy died. It's sad because Mario from the Rainbow didn't make it. But a lot of people, I interviewed this guy who it didn't end up in the movie, but he died, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so sad because this guy who friends with me, friends with the scene, you know, but the problem is he didn't remember anything. It showed in the interview. Like I can't remember. I can't remember. I can't remember. And he died like a couple weeks later.
That's very sad.
Yeah, very.
That's what you never know, and I think that is great that you took the time to make this documentary about this capsule in time, because
it's a time capsule. Yeah, exactly.
So, what else do you want to get out there? Because I'm sure you're gonna have a busy schedule of staying in your house. But what are you up to these days, other than a documentary, or is it just documentary 100%?
Basically, I'm writing a book version of the documentary.
Oh, cool!
More pictures and more interviews that didn't make it into the movie.
Oh, very cool.
Basically, I think less is more. And, like, it's 80 minutes long enough. You know, like, I'm done. And you can put out a book version of the documentary with stuff that didn't make in the movie. A lot of stuff.
All right. And so in the website that people can, it's available for streaming, or is it available for order? Or how can we watch it?
Okay, you can go to Amazon.com, YouTube, Google Play. You can stream it there. You can go to type in Scenesters. There's 2 Scenesters, but you'll get it. The cover with Axel, Perry Farrell, and Anthony is the one.
Oh yes. Yeah, it has Axel, Anthony Kiedis, and Gin Addiction on the cover. And, of course, we're tweeting it out. Scenesters, Music, Mayhem, and Melrose.
Melrose Avenue.
Yeah, Melrose Avenue. I mean...
you can go to scenestersdoc.com, and you can basically see everything. The YouTube channel, the Instagram, the reviews, everything.
All right, cool. So what else... is there anything? What would we? You don't want to give everything away, but what's the? Let's say the second thing that we would take away that we would be shocked by.
How it all ends.
How it all ends. Oh wow. Okay. Well, you have a little M. Night Shyamalan twist or something.
People grew up. It's like the last interview, you know, and they said people grew up. And it's very Sopranos.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah, well, you didn't see the movie, correct?
No, not yet. I read up on it. I haven't seen the movie yet. Oh no, I'm not lying to you.
Of course, but I did a play on The Sopranos. Basically, this guy said, and then I grew up, click.
And then you had, I'm assuming a different song than Journey playing at the end.
No. It was 15 seconds.
Okay.
And basically, it says, he said, and we grew up in black for 15 seconds, rolls the credits.
I like it. Very cool. Very poetic. Very poetic. I like that. Well, Desi Benjamin, I can't thank you enough for coming on.
Sup, Jew?
Sorry, I see I have a Cartman Jewish soundbite ready at my disposal at all the time. So, Desi, you are officially... You're one of our bad apples. You could more than welcome on the show whenever you want, especially now that I found out you're part of the Jewish tribe. I mean, come on, we got to stick together. Yeah, we got to stick together.
The greatest part, you have a bar mitzvah.
Yeah, I was bar mitzvahed. I have to mention this because you'll find this funny because it involves Raz. So, I mean, we try to do this podcast in as much as real time as we can. So, we're recording this Sunday, October 22nd, and the Yankees lost last night. They did not make the World Series. I mean, I've seen World Series in my life, and the reason I just thought of this now because I was bar mitzvahed October 26, 1996, when the Yankees won the World Series. But before last night's game, Raz Q reached out to me, and he's like, "If the Yankees win, we should have a friendly wager. If the Yankees lose the World Series, you're gonna have to wear a Bieber shirt." And I was like, "Oh, all right. Well, if the Dodgers lose, you're gonna have to wear a Miley Cyrus shirt."
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah. So that's never gonna happen because it's the fucking Astros and the Dodgers. So
It's sad because the concept, like in 1981, I watched the World Series, the great one. LA versus New York was amazing. Goose Gossage, fucking Fernando Valenzuela was amazing. And it's sad because there's not going to be an Los Angeles, New York series.
yeah,
Now it's going to be Los Angeles, Houston series. And
I know we have listeners in Texas, but I mean, come on, no one gives a shit.
Yeah, but it's so sad because Houston. What happened to Houston a couple weeks ago?
The flood?
The flood.
Well, in 2001, when the Yankees were on the World Series, that's when 9/11 happened. And we lost. So I have no sympathy. I'm saying it facetiously, but no, it's good. I mean, it's good for both teams because they both haven't been to the World Series in a very long time. And me being only 34, I've seen 5 Yankees World Series in my life, including to go into games. So it just would have been fun to have a bet with Raz Q going on. So I just wanted to share that story with you.
What's the first concert that you went? I'm going to interview you.
Sure.
What's the first concert that you went to?
Oh, God, you're going to out me. Well, it's not. I don't think it's anything too bad. Eve 6? Are you familiar with the band Eve 6?
No.
Well, Eve 6 was, I'm trying to, I don't want to say pop punk, but they were like late 90s, early 2000s. You would hear their music on, American Pie soundtracks. I'm sure you've heard the song Inside Out on rock radio that was like their one big hit. That was my one concert in a place in Long Island called the Vanderbilt, and now it's a planetarium.
My first concert was the Bee Gees and Earth, Wind, and Fire at Dodger Stadium.
Oh, I mean, that's brilliant. I love it. I love both of those bands.
I saw Kiss, the Dynasty Tour. Let's see, Aerosmith, Done with Mirrors. Basically, what I got off Guns N' Roses, these guys are capturing the Aerosmith junkie, draw the line, night in the ruts, that thing. They captured it. Like, I was such a fan of the Aerosmith.
Mm-hmm.
But it was such a fan of that thing, that vibe. Like, pissed off punk rock. They didn't really care.
They didn't care. I think that's the biggest thing is when you don't care.
Like Jane's Addiction, they didn't really care. They did it. They lived it and they did it.
Oh, for sure.
And they were doing it for the music. Now, I remember 1990, there was a band signed to MCA called Smashing Orange.
Okay.
Like the Smashing Pumpkins. Really? Really?
You're clearly copying. Is there anything else that you want to get out there?
Parting shot, my bar mitzvah. So, anyways, 12 and a half. So I learned the bar mitzvah portion. Great. I aced it.
Okay.
And 2 weeks before the bar mitzvah, the rabbi called me in, and he said, "We have bad news for you. We taught you the wrong bar mitzvah portion." They taught me the wrong bar mitzvah portion.
They taught you the wrong one? Oh, that's nice. And you spent all that time memorizing it?
it was a leap year.
I mean, like anybody other than who's on the dais knows the difference.
Well, like we're talking about a lot of like people that read Hebrew.
That's true.
Good job, Jew.
Sorry, I have buttons.
I know, but it's so funny because my original portion was some obscure part of the Bible saying, "Let the prostitutes back into Jerusalem."
Nice. And of course they were, I mean, it was written a long time ago. They were talking about the last track on Chinese Democracy, Prostitute, clearly.
Yeah. How do you feel about the Chinese Democracy?
Hey, Jesus, how do you feel about this? Or Moses, I guess I should say. I wasn't there. You're always welcome back, Desi. Always.
Thank you so much. Talk to you later, buddy.
And there he goes, Desi Benjamin. Be sure to get his documentary on the interwebs. Awesome, interesting stuff right there. I love doing this podcast, Appetite for Distortion. And earlier in the episode, thank you again to Art Giovanna. Would not have met Art if it wasn't for this podcast. He found us through SoundCloud. Same thing with Desi Benjamin. I think he found us after he saw we interviewed Raz Q, who we were introduced to through John Miller, who we were introduced through Jason Schultz, our second interview ever in episode 2. So it's just been the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon or 6 degrees of Guns N' Roses here for Appetite for Distortion. So any stories, as we put out there before, that you want to get out there, let us know. It's not always going to be industry people. It could be you. We got a lot of great reactions from the last episode, stories I want to hear from you. So please hit us up on Facebook and Twitter, both at The AFD Show, iTunes, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, of course. So in the words of Axl Rose concerning Chinese Democracy, regarding the next episode of Appetite for Distortion, I don't know if soon is the word, but you'll see it.
You've been listening to the distorted minds of Brando and Scotto, dissecting all things Guns N' Roses on Appetite for Distortion. Follow the guys on Twitter at The AFD Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/The AFD Show.